Hello, in today's lesson, I'm going to do an abstract composition of these rocks. This lesson is pretty layered, so I'm going to show color mixing, color layering, and then how to abstract. I picked these shapes because they're simple and pleasing. And so first thing I want to do is pick two colors to mix. I've picked a Windsor Blue that's darker, and I've picked a Savanna neutral. I'm going to show you how to mix gradations of these. I think it's good to pick something on the light or dark scale, colors that aren't too close in value. And then ahead of time, I have put a wash of this fluorescent orange. Orange is a complementary color or opposite of blue on the color palette. And I'm going to try I picked one that's so bright because I really want you to see the background wash showing through. I'm going to mix my colors first, and then I'll go into laying out a composition on this fluorescent background. So I'm going to prepare these, and then I'm going to lay out the whole composition. So a little bit of planning is required for this lesson. So first, I'm going to squeeze out some of this neutral. It's called Savanna Color. And I'm going not quite a tablespoon, but just a little bit under. Now, the Windsor Blue, that's more intense, so I probably don't need as much, but I'll just go ahead and put out a similar amount. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to mix colors. Last week we did it with a brush, and that will happen, but as you're painting, you'll naturally mix with your brush. But if you wanted to mix larger quantities, you wouldn't want to use your brush because all the paint jams up into the bristles at the base and it'll ruin your brush. So as I go, I'm mixing, but I also have to reserve some of these mixtures. So I'm going to take about half of this and bring it down here. I'm going to take about half of this and bring it down here. So I'm going to save these two colors, and then I'm going to mix gradations in between. Since this is the darker color, I'm going to add a little bit at a time to this Savanna. A little bit is going to go a long way. And I like to use my angled palette knife. I basically scoop and flip and smush this paint. And if it's a hot day, you probably, after mixing, you either want to add a retarding agent to it or a little bit of water, or cover it with maybe a piece of wax paper or plastic. Okay, so there's my first mixture, gradation 1. Now I'm going to go to my second gradation. I'm going to bring this up more quickly. And I'm not going to do a lot of gradations because this lesson is pretty in-depth. So I could do a whole lot more if I wanted to. I've got plenty of paint to do that. Okay, so there's that mixture I've reserved. Okay, I'll just do one more. I lied because I had a little bit of extra paint there. Okay, so I've got 3 gradations plus my original colors. All right, so that's it for color mixing. I would set that aside. And then we're going to go on to the drawing or composing part. I don't want this color to be distracting, so I'm going to put a piece of paper on top of that. And we're going to look at our rocks, our subject matter. Okay, so before I lay out my composition, I want to, we're going to work a little bit on visual memory here. This is my first time doing this. So it involves a little bit of drawing. So I picked this there's only 6 rocks here, and I'm going to give you, at the end of the video, I'll leave the rocks up for probably a minute. And what you'll do is you're going to look at that, take in the information. I want you to pretend that you're wearing glasses that only see shapes. So you're not going to see any of the striations or patterns on the rock. You're just going to see shapes. So, and then oftentimes you'll see artists doing this. They will trace in the air. They'll draw in the air the shapes that they're seeing. So you can do that. This is a way of memorizing what you're seeing. So first is square. I usually break it down from the largest to the smallest shape. So I'm going to go square. Then I've got this big rock, then this rock, then that rock. So I've got 1, 2, 3, and then over here 1, 2, 3 to my smallest one. And I picked this one because it's simple. We got a black background. So I'm memorizing by drawing in the air and then also doing a little bit of composing. Okay, so you'll look at that. You're doing a visual capture in your mind. And then that's going to go away. This might be the hard part. That's going to go away. So you're working on getting a picture in your mind. Then I'm going to go to my sheet of Bristol paper with a fluorescent wash. And the first thing I usually like to do, just to get something on the page, is I'm going to draw a thin border, and I'm using a charcoal pencil. And I'm not, this is the part that's going to be weird. I'm not going to lift my pencil. Okay, so then from what I remember, I'm going to, and it's not a square, so I'm going to have to adjust here. I'm going to the best of my ability, I'm going to lay out what I just memorized. And if I want to redraw it, like, okay, there's the big rock, then the next rock down, there was one over here, and then there was 1, 2, 3, from what I recall. Okay, so I can, again, drawing with my finger to lay out the composition. This does not need to be perfect. As a matter of fact, we don't really want it to be. Okay, so same thing, continuous line. I'm going to go to whatever I remember that biggest shape being. And, you know, they're rocks, they're just funny shapes. So if that doesn't come out exactly, doesn't matter. Okay, now the next thing that's going to feel really weird to you is I don't get to lift my pencil. So I'm going to have to draw across my shape to get to the next biggest shape. Now we actually want this because crossing the line, I'm going to get new shapes. Okay, so I'm getting new shapes in here. Then I got to go up here to whatever that rock thing was. And then I'm going to have to come down here. I know there were 3, but I honestly don't remember what those shapes look like all that much. Okay, then there was another one over here and a smaller one. Okay. All right, so things crisscross. I'm abstracting by just reducing things to their basic shapes. And that's my composition. Now you might go, well, there's all this empty space. You actually want some empty space, some breathing room. Okay, so now I'm going to bring my colors back, my mixtures back, and I'll start painting in these rocks. So we're not going for realistic at all. We're just going to go for painting in these shapes. And I've got all kinds of decisions to make. I could use my darkest color to fill in, I'm going to call this the negative space, the space surrounding the rocks. Or I could go in the lighter range and have the dark rocks be darker. I'm not really sure yet. Okay, but as I'm painting, I want to be sure to leave a little bit of the orange showing through. I want to use the background wash to my advantage. So I'm just going to start, and I think I'll start with this rock. I think I'm going to go for sort of this green here. Add a little bit of water. And I can cross over the charcoal pencil line. I can stay just in back of it. The charcoal pencil line will get activated with water, and that will become like a paint and blend in. Okay, so here I've filled this one in solid. I can scrape back with my palette knife if I want. Now, I can just add like makeup, some rock patterns in there if I want. So I can scrape through. I'm using that background color to my advantage. So I've got limitations here, but within it, there's just so much to play with. Thick paint, thin paint, scraping, different decisions. What's the background color going to be? Don't think I want to go with my darkest blue. I think I'm going to go with this one here. So I'm adding quite a bit of water to this, and I'm going to fill in fairly quickly, non-fussy manner. And I'm going to leave, in some of the areas, I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap so that that background color shows through. Some areas I'll leave it and some I won't, just so you can see the difference. So here I'll come close up. Need a finer brush now to get in closer. So the reason for leaving some of that orange showing is I know that blue and orange are complementary colors, and so optically it's going to be, what's the word? It's just going to be zingier. They're going to interact and give the painting a little more energy. Okay, so this is brushed in loosely. I can always come back later and make that thicker. So I've got it pretty well blocked out. Now I'm going to start filling in some of the other colors. So here I'm going to bring colors side by side, interacting. Some places I'm going to leave the orange line. I can make changes. So this is my highest contrast color is the original Windsor Blue. So having it one area, it seems too distracting. So I'm going to bring it down into some other areas to lead the eye down. So I've got 1, 2, 3. I'm going to come back and layer this a little bit thicker. I can come back with my charcoal pencil, and if I want to put, I'm just making up some rock texture here. I can bring that back in. Feel like I want this to be darker, so I'm just constantly playing with the layering. I've got the foundation, I've got my composition set out, and then I can start making adjustments. I want this to be a little bit darker, but not as dark as the original blue. Okay, I like this darker down here. I like it being real kind of loose and mushy. I'm not getting fussy about this. And I kind of like it lighter up there at the top. So I think I might leave that. I like drawing in with the charcoal pencil a whole lot. That could be part of my layering process. Just hitting that with a damp brush to blend the charcoal there. And at a certain point, I might introduce another color, maybe a white. Again, Again, thicker paint applications along with washes. And excavate with the palette knife. See some of the charcoal pencil below. If I don't like it, I can mush some of that back. Okay, and I think I'm going to stop there. I think you get the basic idea. The layering could go on for quite some time, but I wanted you to see color mixing gradations, how we see memorizing visual capture and using a continuous line to create this abstract composition in which I layered colors, allowing some of the background wash to show through. I'm now going to leave the rocks up on the screen for a minute just for you to memorize, and then you can go into your painting process. So here are the rocks. I'll just leave that there for a minute, and then you can get started.